गजाननं भूतगणातिसेवितं कपित्थजम्बूफलसारभक्षितम् उमासुतं शोकविनाशकारणं नमामि विघ्नेश्वरपादपङ्कजम्. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Friends, Namaste and a hearty welcome to one and all for today's 25th session of DISHA. Pitru Paksha begins from tomorrow, the 10th September. It is believed in Hindu tradition that when a person is born, he is born with three debts or rina. One is Deva Rina, that is debt towards God. Two, Acharya Rina, and third is Pitru Rina, debt towards forefathers and elders. Pitru means ancestors and Paksha means lunar period. The 15 days in the month of Bhadrapada Masa, Krishna Paksha, is considered Pitru Paksha, an ideal period for performing Pindadana, Shraddha and Tarpana for our forefathers, offering food and water to the departed souls in the presence of a priest. This is significant where the person performing and family members remember and pay their respects to their ancestors, departed parents, grandparents, great-grandparents, extended family, and also our teachers and so on, to clear the Pitru Rina and ensure their moksha and our well-being. The performance of these rites is set to ensure the well-being of all three generations, the current generation being the bridge between the ancestors and the future generation. Apart from remembering our loved ones, we feed not only the needy, but also birds, animals, and we tend to be charitable in their memory. Coming to today's 25th session of DISHA, our series to lead us into an inward journey of discovery of inner strength and happiness, in short, DISHA, where one topic or concept is explained from two texts, Bhagavad Gita and Tatvabodha. Our Param Vedanta teachers shall explain antaraṅga sadhana with reference to verses 10 to 15 from Dhyana Yoga, chapter 6 of Bhagavad Gita, and from Tatvabodha under Upasana Yoga, the subtopic verbal conditioning shall be explained. We shall have a teaching quiz on the two topics at the end. Srimati Radha Ravi will commence today's session by chanting and explaining Nrsimha Shatakam. Srimati Radha Ravi, please.
Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. I am chanting the poem from Tarigonda Lakshmi Nrsimha Shatakam, written by the great poet Matrushri Tarigonda Vengamamba. She took birth in a small village called Tarigonda in Andhra Pradesh in 1730. She was the greatest devotee of Lord Venkateshwara. She was a great philosopher, social reformer, poet, and studied yogic sciences and became yogini. Hence, her works are rich in yogic and spiritual knowledge. Her life experiences did influence her works, which makes it even more sublime. Also, her poem appealed from spiritual seeker to a common man. It provides the required knowledge and values to everyone as per their seeking in the right intensity. Thus, our poems swayed both Panditas and Pamaras for centuries. Some of her literary works are Tarigonda Nrsimha Shatakam, Nrsimha Vilasa Katha, Shivanatakam, Balakrishna Natakam, Ashtanga Yogasaram, Sri Bhagavatam, and so on. This poem is taken from her first literary works, Nrsimha Shatakam. Shatakam means is a composition of 100 poems. This is one of the poem, and the poem goes like this. Next slide, sir. Yavaru leru jeevunike, yavaru shatruvulavaraptulun, yavaru nindaseyuduru, yavaru mechudurenni bhangulan, yavariyandu santatamu nerpada, జీవుడు నిండియుండు. ಗೃಂಹುನು ಭೇದಮಿಲ್ಲ ತರಿಗೊಂಡ ನೃಸಿಂಹ ದಯಾಪಯೋನಿಧಿ This poem explains about the Atma Tattvam in a very, very subtle manner. Jiva here refers to Atma. It exists in every living being. There is no friend or enemy for an Atma. Neither abuses nor appreciation can influence it. Atma exists in every living being by giving life and chaitanyam to the Jiva. If so, why there should be differentiation between you and me, as the substratum is one and the same? Even though it is a question to our beloved Nrsimha Swami, it is actually an advice to all of us that we should not differentiation between jivas. So the conclusion here is, if we go beyond manah, chitta, buddhi, ahankaras, we would see the pure Atma existing in every human being. Hence the seeker should not differentiate between people but should see himself in everyone. Hari Om. Thank you, sir.
Hari Om, Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Thank you, madam, for the explanation of the prayer verse for today. Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Patyantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Om. We continue our studies with the 6th chapter of the Gita. We have now moved on to the second topic of the 5 topics in this comprehensive chapter. As we have seen in the last week class, the 5 topics are the Bahiranga sādhanāni, Dhyana Swarupam, Dhyana Phalam, and Pratibandha Nivritti Upaya. Let us quickly revise to give us a bird's eye perspective where we stand. So we should be free from these misconceptions regarding meditation. Meditation is not for moksha, because moksha is possible only through jnanam. Meditation is not for jnanam either, because it is not one of the 6 pramanams, the instruments of knowledge. It is not for mystic experience. It is not that it will not give us mystic experiences. However, these mystic experiences, powers, often lend attachment to our body-mind complex and may become an obstacle to spiritual growth. Therefore, when in our journey towards the moksha purushartha, our using meditation for mystic powers, therefore, is not used. Meditation is not for Brahman experience. Often the mistake done is during Shravana Mananam, I am given knowledge of Brahman, and then during Nididhyasanam, I try to experience that Brahman about whom I have come to know. So we are explained by the masters that every singular experience through the day is possible because of the sentiency within me, which is Brahman. Therefore, every single experience reveals Brahman. So no special experience is therefore required. So meditation is not for Brahman experience. Another mistake is to see meditation as an end in itself. As we shall learn through this chapter, meditation gives us jnana yogyata, to give the ticket to jnana yoga. And after that, it also gives us the ticket for jnana nishtha prapti. So it is a means for something higher. It's not an end in itself. Then what is meditation for? So here we have to understand that there are 2 types. One is called as upasana dhyanam, and second is what is called as nididhyasanam. So these 2 types depend upon where I am as the seeker. Am I looking at meditation before scriptural study or after scriptural study? So before scriptural study, my interest in meditation, which is now called upasana dhyanam, is for Jnana Yogyata Prapti, Chitta Shuddhi, Chitta Ekagriti. And then I start my journey of Jnana Yoga. Shravanam Mananam happens, where the Guru uses the Shastram as a mirror to show my true nature. Then comes the second type of meditation, which is called as Nididhyasanam. Here, what the teacher has shown me, I have to constantly revise my perspective from my earlier belief that I am of the nature of body-mind complex to what the teaching is, which is of Atma Swarupam. So this helps me drop the habitual notions that I am the body-mind complex. It helps us to revise our perspective, revise our emotional response in keeping with my true nature, which is Atma Swarupam. So this is more of an assimilatory kind of meditation. So primarily meditation is for these two purposes. So we have seen this bird's eye view, and today, after having gone through the Bahiranga Sādhanāni in detail in the last class, we shall learn about the several steps in antaraṅga sādhanāni and where does antaraṅga sādhanāni fit in the overall perspective of this chapter. It is interesting to compare this chapter with the presentation in the Patanjali Yoga Sutra. So we can see that even in the Patanjali Yoga Sutra, there is a kind of 4 topics as they are in this chapter, and equivalent to Bahiranga Sadhanani are the Yama and Niyamas, which will again be explained in today's class. And then equivalent to the Antaraṅga Sadhanani, we see an enumeration by Lord Krishna of a 8-fold steps, which will be dealt elaborately today, versus the 3 steps which are there in the Patanjali Yoga Sutra. Only after elaborately dwelling in the Bahiranga and Antaraṅga Sadhanani do these texts go to Dhyana Swarupam. So this is a learning point for all of us, that meditation cannot be the first step without these prerequisite steps. As we have seen earlier, the Bahiranga Sadhanani gives a mindset for me. What I do throughout the day gives a mindset for me so that I can have a firm foundation when I sit for meditation. And the Antaraṅga Sadhanani are the steps which we take immediately before doing the meditation. Only when these two go through in a proper recommended manner does these texts suggest the Dhyana Swarupam or the methodology. Even in the Vedas, we see that there is the Karma Kanda before the Upasana portion in the Vedas. This brief introduction, I invite Ravi Shankar sir to present the main topic of today. Over to you, sir.
Shri Guru Bhyo Namaha. Most of us have meditated at some time in our lives, whether it is sitting or in a particular posture or maybe standing. And most of it would say, we have been there and done that. Not sure why meditation was done, what to expect out of meditation, and what is gained out of meditation. In this session of DISHA, after the extensive explanation and understanding of Bahiranga Sadhana last time, let us try to understand Upasana Yoga or Dhyana Yoga or the Yoga of meditation, or what is called by Krishna Paramatma as Atma Samyama Yoga, and what has been particularly explained as Vedantic meditation by Pujya Swamiji Paramarthanandaji. The question is, what is the role of meditation for a Vedantic seeker like you and me, the seeker of liberation? And the clear answer given is, it is for purification of the mind. Chitta Shuddhi. While we have done Chitta Shuddhi, it's only then that we can gain and assimilate any kind of knowledge. Vedantic study is Shravana and Manana, and that is a part of Jnana Yoga. Meditation done before that is Upasana, and meditation done after adequate Vedantic study is nididhyasana. So the spiritual journey begins with upasana, of course with karma yoga before that, jnana yoga and nididhyasana. This upasana is preparation of the mind. It is for jnana yogyata prapti. It is for sadhana chatushtaya sampatti prapti. In short, it is for our integration. Upasana should be followed by jnana yoga, which we all know by now is consistent and systematic study of the scriptures for a reasonable length of time under the guidance of a competent acharya. And this study alone gives self-knowledge, not meditation, because that's the purpose of our discussion. The scriptures serve as a mirror to give us knowledge. Hence, it is only nididhyasana through which we have assimilation of the jnanam, which we go and get in jnana yoga. And before jnana yoga, we have the preparation of the mind, which is through this upasana. We do all this without realizing what is the jnana phalam. So the benefit of this jnana phalam is shantihi, absolute peace, triptihi, fullness, contentment, and complete happiness, and abhayam, fearlessness and security. In short, peace, happiness, and security, PHS, as our Swamiji keeps telling us again and again. Obviously, it is not for the experience of Brahman. And this experience of Jnana Phalam is Jnana Phala Anubhava, Jnana Nishta, which is nothing but Jivan Mukti. Sri Krishna himself explains to us the practice of this meditation, which is Vedantic meditation, in this chapter marked as Nididhyasana Yoga. Amongst the topics of this chapter, last time we understood that the Samanya Sādhanāni or the Bahiranga Sādhanāni are the general preparations done by a good karma yogi with Ishvara Arpana Bhava and a Prasada Buddhi all day long. Today we see the Vishesha Sādhanāni or the antaraṅga Sādhanāni, which are the specific preparations done just before meditation. Let us have a look at these aspects today. Between a common man and an ochre-robed man, one whose mind dwells upon one field at one time is a good meditator, said Bhagavad-pada Shankaracharya. So a karma yogi is a good meditator. He is a good open-eye meditator, provided he gives his 100% with the right attitude and the right action. And this has been brought out in the verse, Mai sarvani karmani samyasya dhyata chetasa. And also, karmani sangam tyaktva karotiyaha sapapena na lipyate. So it has a very clear understanding that there has to be a renunciation. And this renunciation is of all the worries and the anxieties and various experiences, and that is the true renunciation. When we sit for meditation and the conscious mind is probably quieted, the emotions erupt from our subconscious mind like bubbles during this practice. And the whole training of meditation is to train the mind to have samatva. The true karma yogi develops this samatva. The grihastha glorification done by Sri Krishna Paramatma is for karma yoga glorification and only for samatvam glorification. So Bhagavad-pada Shankaracharya has said that this has been done not to criticize a sannyas, but to highlight that a true karma yogi can do well with proper meditation and chitta shuddhi through the technique of nahi nindanyaya as done in the last time. So a jnani who has samatvam to the achetana prapancha and a jnani who has samadarshana to the chetana prapancha is the right person. Sthirata sukha hetu, chanchalyam dukha hetu. Peace is with purity of mind, and an agitated mind gives suffering. We further notice that in antaraṅga sādhanāni, there are 8 steps just before meditation. We choose the right place, DISHA. We choose the right time, kalaha. Appropriate seat to sit and meditation, asanam. The right posture of the body, which is sharira sthiti. The right breathing technique, prana, samyama. Withdrawal of sense organs from the external world, which is indriya nigraha. Withdrawal of the mind from those worldly feelings, which is mano nigraha. And a very clear intellectual conviction about the role of our meditation or Vedantic meditation in spiritual sadhana, which is the buddhi nischaya. A yogi, as explained in this verse, yogi yunjita satatamatmanam rahasi sthita ekaki yata chittatma nirashir aparigraha. Constantly, yogi satatam, who regularly practices meditation, yunjita, at an appropriate time, which is the sattvika kala, in a secluded place, rahasi sthita, and without many people around him, in the sense there's no need to do group meditations, ekaki ekaha. This is the importance of kalaha. Yata chittatma is a disciplined chittam, which is mind, and atma in this context means the physical body. So there has to be a discipline between the body and the mind. Such a person is now discussed about having a understanding of meditation. Nirashihi is one who has no binding desires. Legitimate non-binding desires are acceptable. Non-possessions are aparigraha. And Shastra insists that we must have a simple living and a high thinking. In that phrase, yoga kshema, reduction of yoga is nirashihi, and reduction of kshema is aparigraha. We notice that the desha and the asanam has been clearly explained in the 11th verse of this chapter. Shaucha deshe pratisthapya sthiramanasam atmanaha nyatu charitam nati nicham chailanjani kutostataram. So there is a kusha. The buddhi should be as sharp as the kusha blade grass. Ajinam is the deer skin which has to be on the kusha, and there has to be a piece of cloth as a asana to sit on for meditation. It should not be too high or too low. And of course, it should be fixed so that we are able to sit on it properly in a clean spot, shaucha desha. In the 12th verse, we notice in the next slide, Tattaikragram manaha kritva yata chittendriya kriyaha upavishya sane yunji yoga atma vishuddhare. This is very important because it discusses about indriya nigraha and mano nigraha. We have to withdraw from all the activities. The mind, chittam, has to withdraw. All the activities from the sense organs, indriya, from the organs of knowledge and the organs of action, the jnanendriyas and the karmendriyas, as a method of stilling the mind. The aim of meditation is not to still the mind, but that is only a step. That is a stepping stone. Like the sunbeams which are parallel, in the presence of a lens, they converge and have so much of energy to burn the grass or a paper. In the same way, once the mind is stilled, we must direct the mind towards the object of meditation by this process of ekagram, converging the mind. And one should practice dhyana or meditation, explained as yogam yunjam. So meditation is for mind purification and ekagram, not for self-realization. The question, what is the purpose of meditation, is clearly answered in this last part of this verse, as Atma Vishuddhaye. Atma here means the mind, and Vishuddhi is purification. So this is an absolute clear answer given by Krishna Paramatma for us to understand that we should not get lost with the purpose of meditation. A student went to the Guruji and he said, Guruji, I am meditating and I have an object of meditation and I am in an act of meditation and I'm doing this for almost an hour every day. What are your thoughts and what should I do? He said, you are in Triputi. Now our teacher has also explained quite some time ago when we were doing the Bhagavad Gita classes in the earlier days that wait to understand what is Vedantic meditation before you understand and put too much of importance to just meditation as what most people would understand. So the question is, purify the mind of what? Is there a problem in the mind? And the answer given is, Mala Vikshepa Rupa Ashuddhi Nivrittam is Dhyana Abhyasa. Mala here is unhealthy thinking because of Raga, Dvesha, Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsarya. And Vikshepa, of course, is the restless mind with the extrovertedness. And it is this Vedantic knowledge which removes the Deha Vasanas which have been in our subconscious mind and the subtle mind from long years, the Deha Abhimana Vasana, the Viparita Bhavana, which leads to Atma Vishuddhaye. We notice further that we must sit in meditation in a proper Sharira Sthiti, and also we must have Prana Samyam. This is explained in the 13th verse. Samam Kaya Shirogrivam Dharaya Nachalam Achalam Sthira Sampreksha Nasikagram Swam Dishas Avalokayam. Achalam Sthira, we should be firm and steady. The body Kaya, the neck Griva, and the Shira head should be in one straight line. The whole body should be in a sthira position. Disha Avalokanam is a absolute peaceful mind without the restlessness, not looking here and there. And watch the tip of the nose with your closed eyes, as it were, to have ekagram. The prana samyam has been explained in the 27th verse of the 5th chapter, prana panav samakritva. And this purpose is pranayama being a regulation of breathing. Prana vikasanam is important, which is observation or awareness of the breathing process. That itself brings down and stills the mind. We notice further in the next verse, that is the 14th verse, Prashantatma Vigatabhihi Brahmachari Vrate Sthitaha Manah Samyama Majchittaha Yuktaha Asit Matparaha. Lots of us would clearly understand that we have painful experiences of the past and a lot of future worries. These painful experiences could be failures, insults, guilt, anger, inferiority complex, negative thoughts, and so on. It is essential that these past painful experiences and the future worries be clearly surrendered to the Lord. It is then important to have a sattvic mind, which means we should forget our experiences but learn from those experiences of the past. Give up the anxieties, vigata bhihi. Only then we are available in this present moment, in this present time, 100% for Vedantic meditation. Hence, Sri Krishna tells us, become a brahmachari vrate sthitaha, which means become a mental sannyas here and now. And then what happens? This is an integrated mind. the mind is converging. This is a yukta. Such a person is a yukta. And sitting in meditation with such a mind, with mano nigraha, Sri Krishna tells us, let me be the object of meditation, so also let me be the goal of meditation. So the means and the goal together being one and the same, that is the higher self, is matparaha. We notice further that a meditator, yogi satatam yunjan, who has fixed the mind upon the Lord, as described in the previous verses, evam, and who has gone beyond the bheda dhyana, like a manda or a madhyama bhakta, who practices ekarupa or a vishwarupa aradhana. Sri Krishna tells us it is time for you to go to the arupa dhyana, which is the formless Ishvara dhyana of a uttama bhakta. Get transformed into aveda dhyana. And Lord Shri Krishna says, this arupa dhyana, this arupa meditation alone is to meditate upon me, which is the very Atma, which is the Atma Samsthita. And what happens at this type of meditation is there is absolute peaceful mind, which is shantim adhigacchati. And this peace does not come from outside or from any external sources, but this peace is coming from the Lord himself. Mat samsthata adhigacchati. And this is known as shantim, which means jivan muktihi. And as the verse mentions, shantim nirvana paramam, which means videha mukti. So this should be our buddhi nischaya, a firm conviction that we have done upasana before Vedantic study for chitta shuddhi. We now do upasana or meditation with adequate Vedantic study as nididhyasana to come to this stage of shantihi. We now see that Patanjali Yoga Shastra has a yoga abhyasa and a philosophy or yoga darshan. Vyasacharya has borrowed the practice part deeply into this dhyana yoga. And we know that the Patanjali Yoga Shastra has 8 stages: yama, niyama, asana, pranayama, pratyahara, dharana, dhyana, and samadhi. And there are 10 commandments of Hinduism. We see in the next slide that yama, which has the do nots, no physical violence, verbal violence, or even mental violence, ahimsa. Speak the truth. Thought and verbal should be clear, satyam. Non-stealing, asteham. Inappropriate attitudes to be given a brahmacharya, aparigraha. And niyama, purity of internal and external shaucham. Contentment, which is santosha. Swadhyaya, which is scriptural study. Austerity is tapaha. Surrender to the Lord is Ishvara pranidhanam. And sharanagati is to accept as inevitable situation. Give me the strength, O Lord. We know that this yama and niyama is related to the bahiranga sadhana as explained last time. But the training of our annamaya kosha, which is the asana siddhi, and the training of our pranamaya kosha through pranayama and prana vikasanam, which is regulating the breath, withdrawal of the sense organs, which is damaha of Vedanta, which is pratyahara of the Patanjali Yoga, come into this group of antaraṅga sādhanāni as explained by Sri Krishna Paramatma in this chapter. We further see that karma yoga is for inner growth. A true karma yogi has inner growth. And by doing this kind of upasana, our personality that's fit to have Purushartha, the sadhana chatushtaya, prapti. Kathopanishad, the clear verse is Vijnana Sarathir Yastu Manaha Pragravahan. Only such a person can get Tad Vishnu Paramam Padam. So there has to be a clear, proper personality of the Manaha and the intellect. In the next slide, we notice that our personality, which has given so much of importance, has the Kaika, Vachika, and the Manasika aspect. The Kaika part, of course, is the physical body, which has been explained the last time in the Bahiranga Sādhanāni. The verbal tapas, the verbal conditioning is extremely important. Adi Shankara mentions in the Viveka Chudamani, Yogasya Prathamam Dwaram Vanga Nirodha Parigraha. And this is so important. The first step, the first door of yoga abhyasa is Vanga Nirodha. Watch out the verbal aspects. Anudvegakaram Vakyam, Satyam, Priyam, and Hitam are parts of this verbal conditioning, which has been explained in Tatvabodha. What are they? Anudvegakaram is, as we notice in the next slide, is our speech should not hurt anyone. There has to be ahimsa at the vak level. So it should not be something that is going to hurt somebody's thoughts and emotions. There should be satyam. There has to be truthfulness in what we speak, and that is the stepping stone to reach Brahman. As simple as that. Satyam is important. And priyam is speech must be pleasant. The pitch should be pleasant. There should be no shouting. There should be no cross talk. You must give way for others to talk and be a reasonably good listener. Hitam means while being a good listener, we should be interested in our own goodness as well as mention good things that the listener should understand. In fact, trying to push our thoughts on the listener without understanding their aspects is probably the worst form of verbal violence. We move on and realize that the manasaha amsha, which is the mental conditioning, includes all the forms of meditation. Upasana is meditation for mental conditioning. Mind being very subtle, cannot be handled without taking care of the body and the speech, and therefore the body or the physical and the speech conditioning or the verbal parts are the stepping stone for mental conditioning. Hari Om, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for elaborately covering for us the 8 steps of the antaraṅga sādhanāni and the related topics in the Tatvabodha Introduction to Vedanta speech by Swami Paramarthananda ji. So to summarize, this second topic of this chapter, which is called antaraṅga sādhanāni, or it is also called as Vishesha Sādhanāni, or specific disciplines, comprises of 8 steps as elaborated by Lord Krishna. DISHA deals with the place where we undertake the meditation. Kala, of course, is not specifically pointed out in the verses, but it is implied. Generally, early morning is one can be ekaki, so it is implied here. Asana, so very well elaborated thousands of years ago for us to get into the specifics of what has to be done immediately before the meditation. How should the asana be? What should be its composition? How high or how low it should be? So deep and specific details there. Sharira sthiti, what should be one's bodily position? So well covered. And then moving on to more subtler things that we have to manage immediately before meditation, which is pranayama and the connected Indriya and Mano Nigraha, which is the sensory mastery and the mastery of the mind. All this happening with a firm conviction that the meditation will give me benefit in the form of availability of the mind so that I can direct my mind towards the object of meditation. Interestingly, we have seen the comparison to the topics in the Patanjali Yoga Sutra. There, the object of meditation is one's Ishta Devata. And interestingly, the chapter here, the object of meditation is moving from Ekarupa to Vishwarupa to Arupa Ishvara. So when that happens, the object of meditation cannot be separate from me at any place or at any time. Because Brahman alone is Satyam, everything else is Mithya. I close my eyes, the only thing that is there is Brahman. I open my eyes, the only thing that is there outside is Brahman. So the subtle difference between these two texts is that one, as we shall see further in the next class, that one need not stop doing his daily chores to have a perspective of Vedantic meditation. The final goal this chapter leads us to is in the thick of action. I can never lose touch with Brahman, the object of meditation. So therefore, can I be meditative enough as I am doing my professional duties at my workplace? Can I be meditative enough when I am doing my regular chores at home? That is the question this chapter tries to explain to us. Now we shall move on to the teaching quiz for today, which will be presented by Shivkumar sir.
Hari Om. Next slide, sir. The first question, based on the 10th verse. What are the 6 requirements for meditation as enumerated in this shloka?
Yunjita satatam, then ekaki yata chittatma, nirashihi, and aparigraha.
Thank you. Answer, sir. Satatam yunjita rahasi ekaki yata chittatma nirashi aparigraha. Thank you. Perfectly correct. Next question. Again on verse 11, the question is, what are the 3 layers to be used for asanam, for meditation? Is the order of the layers important?
The 3 layers are chila, ajina, and kusha grass. Order of the layer is important. First it should be kusha, then over that ajina, over that the chila, the cloth.
Chailam. That is perfectly correct, madam. The order is important. The bottommost is kusha grass, second is ajinam, and the topmost is chailam. Swamiji explains that kusha grass has to be at the bottom because if it comes on the top, the sharp tips will disturb the meditation. So too, the ajinam, the deer skin, the hair can poke and disturb. Hence, the sequence is important. So, next question. Again on verse 11, state true or false. Asanam can be exchanged between meditators.
False.
True. It is false. Atmana asanam. One should use one's own asanam, which means every meditator should have his own or her private exclusive asanam. So next question. On this 12th verse, what is the purpose of meditation as mentioned in this verse? Choose the right option.
Atma Vishuddhaya, that is purification of mind.
Correct. Perfectly correct, madam. Next question, sir. What are the twofold impurities?
I'm sorry, sir. I'm not able to tell.
Mala and Vikshepa are the 2 impurities. Malam means unhealthy thoughts, raga, dvesha, kama, krodha, lobha, moha, mada, and matsarya, etc. Vikshepa is the second impurity, which is extrovertedness of the mind or restlessness of the mind. Next question, sir. State true or false. Meditation can be either before scriptural study or after scriptural study.
True.
Correct. If it is before, it is called upasanam, and if it is after, it is called, after scriptural study, it is called nididhyasanam. Next question, sir. Based on the 13th verse, how do you withdraw the senses?
We have to keep our body, head, and the neck in a straight position, achalam, stiraha, and with our half closed eyes, look at the tip of our nose, and then so that our mind does not wander here and there. That is how we do.
Thank you, madam. The specific answer for this was withdrawing sense organs means withdrawing the mind from the sense organs. You have explained, elaborated a little more. Thank you. Among the sense organs, the most powerful one is the eye. So Krishna says, Swam Nasikhagram Sampreksha. Look at the tip of your nose. It is important that your eyes do not distract you. Next question, sir. Based on the 14th verse, but not on the verse, but the elaboration and the explanation of the 14th verse, the following two questions, 8 and 9, are based. What are the two most disturbing quarters for the mind when in meditation? Next, sir. Yeah, this is the question.
The mind wanders during meditation. Second one, I don't know, sir.
The answer, sir.
Yeah,
correct. As Dr. Ravi Shankar clearly explained, one is our past experience leading to regrets, bitterness, anger, irritation, etc. And the second is worry about the future. So the next question. A brahmachari gives up all relationships in his ashrama except for 3. Can you name the 3 relationships he continues in his ashrama?
He continues his relationship with God, Guru, and the scriptures.
Perfect. Perfectly correct, madam. The relationship with God, relationship with the Guru, he relates to the teacher as a student. And third is the relationship with the Shastram, the scriptures. Next question. This is based on the 15th verse. Krishna says, attaining peace is the benefit of constant meditation. What kind of peace is described in this verse?
A long-lasting peace which culminates in liberation, nirvana.
Correct, madam. Perfectly correct. Peace that is long-lasting and which culminates in liberation. Next question, sir. The next few set of questions are based on Tatvabodha. Question, sir. What is the purpose of Upasana Yoga? The 4 options are given. You can choose the correct option.
To make a personality fit for accomplishment of the Purusharthas.
Perfect, madam. That is the correct answer, to make a personality fit for accomplishment of the Purusharthas. Sir, next question. What are the 4 parameters of Vak Tapas?
And the first one, Anudvegakaram, Vakyam, Satyam, Priyam, and Hitam.
Perfectly correct, madam. Thank you. So the next question. Anudvegakaram Vakyam means, from the 4 options, what is the correct choice?
Your speech does not hurt others.
Correct. Again, speech should not hurt others. Next question. Which is the 3rd layer of personality? Choose the correct option.
Mental conditioning.
True. mental conditioning is the correct one. Now, we have a set of questions which are rapid fire questions. Please be fast in answering. If you wish to give the correct answer or wrong, you just have to say true or false. The first question, sir. Body and speech conditioning are not stepping stones for mental conditioning.
Sorry, true. False.
It's false, madam. Both are required. Body and speech conditioning are required for mental conditioning. Next question, sir. Prayaschittam is voluntarily undergoing pain.
True.
Correct. Priyam means your speech must be pleasant, agreeable, and gentle.
True.
Correct. Hitam means speech which is bad and hurting to the listener also.
False.
Correct. The last question. Empirical truth is the verbal discipline and absolute truth is God.
True.
Thank you, madam. You have done excellently. That brings us to the end of the quiz. Thank you, everybody, for participation. The next DISHA session is on 19th September. But before that, continuing our study of the most important Vedantic chapter, Purushottama Yoga, in our upcoming 115th session of Bhagavad Gita, verse by verse, we shall cover verses 11 to 15. We saw in the 6th verse of this chapter, Lord Krishna defines Brahman as the all-pervading consciousness, Chaitanya Swarupam. In the later verses, he establishes that Brahman alone is in the form of everything. From verse number 7 to verse number 11, he establishes that I alone am in the form of Chetana Jiva. Carrying this further from 12th verse to the 15th verse, he makes it clear that Brahman or Bhagavan is everything, both Achetana Jagat and Chetana Jiva. To understand this, do remember to join us on Friday, 16th September at 6:45 p.m. Friends, concluding another wonderful session on behalf of Param Vedanta, I would like to express a hearty thanks to all the participants for joining us for today's session. And thanks to all our Param Vedanta teachers for the wonderful chanting and explanation of Rusuma Shatakam, the excellent presentation with illustrative slides and the teaching quiz. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Shri Krishna Arpanamastu.